I get everything working today. The computer's running a little slow, so my apologies for any breaks here. My guest today is Paul Tapetti of the band Pokerface. And Paul, you've been rocking out for quite a few years now. Pokerface has been going for quite some time now, hasn't it?
Pokerface has been around since '89 and we went political in 1994 on the one-year anniversary of the government murdering the Branch Davidians in the town of Waco.
Yeah,
so 17 years about.
That was what got me started, and I started the Free American in about 1994, and the militias too. That kind of got me. That kind of got me demonized a bit.
Well, if you're trying to be an American and not a slave of the New World Order, then you're going to be called names. You're going to be labeled anything but the truth. So I'm over it. If you don't have any accusations by America's enemies, by the ADL and the SPLC, then you really haven't been doing enough to get noticed or recognized by the enemy. So
well,
there you have it.
Now it seems like we've had a little bit of effect, and the American people are actually starting to take to the streets with the bailout of Wall Street. Now you've got the anytime you start a group, it's kind of like I told people about the militias. If people were calling me and saying, "Well, Clay, do you know of a militia I can join?" And I said, "Well, if there's more than 10 people in the militia, you can figure one of them's a Fed trying to set you up."
True story, brother.
What's going on from your aspect? What's going on with this bailout on Wall Street? I mean, the press is playing it down, but I've got a picture up on my website, and the streets of New York are filled with people, and they don't want you to know that on the mainstream. They don't want to tell you how many people are really there. Give me your opinion on it, and then I've got a little bit of what I consider to be happening there. I think they're trying to set us against the cops, or set the cops against us. This is divide and conquer all over again.
Well, what I see happening in New York and now spread to a bunch of other cities is I see this as the left version of trying to rally the people around, because most people are ignorant of really what's going on. And if you look into the deep roots of this Occupy Wall Street, you'll find out that there's two Jews from the Obama administration by the name of Lerner from Acorn and Kathleen from the SEIU / Students for Democratic Society, SDS, and a host of other groups like this anonymous group. If you look at their logo, it's the UN logo with a faceless person in front of it. So like everywhere you look, it's like this is not a revolution of the people. This is a controlled revolution from the top, trying to get the bottom ground troops on the streets. It will fizzle out because it is not of the people. But what is happening at these protests is that a lot of people that are clued in, there's a bunch of Ron Paul types, a bunch of and the Fed groups out there. They're educating a lot of the people that are at these sit-ins or these protests. So what's happening is a lot of people are getting a learn on, and it's not what the globalists want. And when you hear these people cry for second term of Obama, you know that it's a setup from the start.
I understand. The rumors are going around that George Soros is behind this, is funding some of this, and this is basically, we're talking about controlled opposition.
Right.
But I've said it may backfire on them. 9/11, I think, kind of backfired on them because they told such outrageous lies that the American people just kind of woke up.
Well, look, brother, you can't have 3 buildings come down when only 2 planes hit them, and expect the American people, especially a lot of smart American people, like from the architects and engineers like Richard Gage and others, one even my cousin, in California, another Tapetti that's with the A&E group, basically saying, like, you cannot have this destruction that happened on 9/11 without controlled demolition. So if there's controlled demolition, who put them there? Cui bono. And every time that you look at the root of all evil, you'll see an Israeli Mossad behind it.
That's right, and it was the Israeli Mossad that were high-fiving it over there in New Jersey, filming the World Trade. And they admitted, they said on Israeli TV that
Yep.
that's what they were there for. They were there to film it.
Yep, and the one cop that arrested, I think a bunch of Israelis that were in a white van with box cutters and explosives, they kept saying to him, "We're on your side. We're on your side. We're not the enemy." Well, no, you are the enemy. You're the one that planted the bombs in the building. So all roads lead back to Israel. And lately, when they were in Israel, the Palestinians are demanding to be a state, and I hope that they become a state.
Now, I just found out something, an interesting piece of information. You've heard of Google Earth?
Yep.
Where can't you see with Google Earth? Do you realize?
Israel.
That's right. That's right. You can. Google Earth will not let you go to Israel. Will not let you look at Israel. You might see that Damono nuclear facility there.
Yeah, the other place I know of is the HARP array up in Alaska. You can't see that either.
They won't. Oh yeah, that's interesting. That's interesting. You know, my website freeamerican.com is blocked on every. Is this thing working here? Let me see here.
Yeah, my band's website Pokerface is banned at libraries.
Yes, mine too. You know, and they say, you know, they try to say that we're a porno site.
Oh yeah, well, to the Jewish world order, the truth is pornography, man.
Now,
the truth is in them.
You know, in my book, Mystery Babylon, I've got the whole history of the Rothschilds, and it was the Rothschilds, I believe, that were behind the protocols of the Elders of Zion.
Well, if they didn't write it directly, they definitely funded it. Just like they funded Karl Marx and Engels to put out the Communist Manifesto.
That's right. I mean, it was some of their New York banker Confederates that financed that. Jacob Schiff financed the whole communist revolution.
Well, Schiff was just a front man for the Rothschilds. He was the one that was given the gold, and he was the one that dispersed it to Trotsky and Lenin. And most people don't know that the first Politburo of Soviet Union was 300 Bolshevik Jews from New York City. How do you like that? Most of them didn't even speak Russian.
That's right.
Yiddish.
That's right. And these are the people, folks. You know, they want to call your attention to the 6 million Jews that were killed by Hitler. Come on. There wasn't 6 million Jews in Europe at that time. And these are the same people, this Politburo, that was Jewish in nature. And by the way, it was a capable offense. It was a capable offense. So that means they shoot you in the head for pointing out that Karl Marx and Lenin were Jewish. They're trying to do the same thing here right now, aren't they?
Let's take the examples, okay? In the Second World War, according to the International Red Cross, 352,000 people died in camps, 97,000 of them being Jewish, okay? So 97,000 blows up to 6 million, okay? That's true math. Another example is Silverstein, the guy that had the lease for 99 years on the World Trade Center. He puts $15 million down, and in 6 weeks, he turns it into $6.5 billion, okay? My third example of Jew math is if you really look into the Inquisition, over 350 years, between 3,000 to 5,000 people were killed, okay? 3 to 5,000 over 350 years. But if you read everything in the Jew press, millions of people were killed in the Inquisition. So,
Larry Silverstein, I put the building number 7 on the cover of my Free American magazine of March 2004 and asked, why did that fall? I put Larry Silverstein's quote on that. And the next month, George Bush allowed the NSA to tap everybody's phones. That story broke in New York Times, folks. But it wasn't the NSA that was tapping the phones. It was 2 Israeli companies, Amdocs and one other one. I don't recall the name of that one.
Converse.
What is it? Converse. Okay, they were tapping the phones, and on May 20th, I called home and asked my son, where do you need me to go next, son? Oh, where are you, Dad? North side of Phoenix, Sacred Skin Tattoo Parlor. Oh, go down 24th Street to McDowell, turn left, go to the wheel shop. It's right there. 2 blocks before I got to McDowell is when I got hit. Rushed to the hospital. Man, this guy fought us all the way, the ambulance driver told him. He didn't want to get on the stretcher, didn't want to get in the ambulance.
Wow.
And when I got to the hospital, they kept me drugged for 3 months. When I finally came out of the drugs, 2 guys are there in blue pinstripe suits, said they're CIA, and frankly, I don't believe they were CIA at all. I believe they were Mossad.
They were JIA, man.
And, you know, I had really gotten, but when I started the Free American, one of the things that I covered was the Operation Watchtower. This was an operation put on by George Bush. And by the way, folks, if you guys don't know it, the Bush family is Jewish. They were German Jews working with Hitler. Prescott Bush was working with the Nazis. And as far as I'm National Socialist, I mean, this is, as far as I'm concerned, the whole SS was influenced and very heavily penetrated by the Zionists. Would you agree with that?
What teach people about World War II is the Jews that went to the camp were non-Zionist Jews that didn't want to move to the desert. Okay, so the Zionist leadership put them in the forced labor camps to make their lives uncomfortable, so that they'd want to go to the desert in Palestine. All right? Hitler protected the Jews for camps because no Allied bombing would bomb the camps. There's Nazis that were killed because of the mistreatment of Jews. All right? So this whole thing is a setup from the beginning.
Talking about setups, let's get back to let's come up to the present right now. What about this? 25 years ago, I exposed the whole Mossad, CIA. The Mossad and CIA were running the drugs. They used special forces and my friend William Tyree doing life in Walpole prison because they murdered his wife and set him up and framed him for the murder. And he was involved in Operation Watchtower. They built radio guide towers to bring guide planes from Colombia into Panama when Manuel Noriega was running that. And Colonel Catolo blew the whistle on it, and he was murdered. William Tyree knew about it. He was put in prison, doing life in Walpole prison. And I exposed that in a motorcycle magazine down in Miami almost 25 years ago. And that's when they started coming after me. So,
yeah, you can't expose their baby maker, man. Money.
This, then when Waco happened, you know, Paul, I didn't know anything about what we're talking about now. I didn't know. I was just as ignorant as every other American. I read the Miami Herald and I watched the Today Show, and I thought I was a, pretty well-informed individual. And then I saw what happened at Waco. What the BATF did, how they murdered 17 little children and how the press tried to say, oh, we had to do that to save those little children from a child molester. That woke me up.
Yeah, we kill the children. I love that. That's great ideology, man.
Yeah, see, and then it was we to me I think it was a psychological operation against the American people. They murdered almost 100 Christians, 17 of them being little children, and the press covered for them. And that same organization, the BATF, are the ones that were responsible for blowing up Oklahoma Federal Building, the Murrah Building.
Yep.
There was no BATF agent in the building at all. But one of them was standing across the street and saying, well, it's a good thing I was here because I recognized that that was an ANFO explosion. And the reason he knew that is because the BATF had spent several months out of White Sands Missile Range training with ANFO bombs, blowing up buses, blowing up trucks, and training. And suddenly, you know, the ADL, another Jewish group, is trying to point out Clay Douglas he started the militias. Yeah, you're damn right I did, and I did it in the governor's office. That wasn't exactly a terrorist organization. We worked for Governor Gary Johnson, who's running for president, and probably the best choice we got with Ron Paul. And you probably, if you're watching mainstream news, you'll know that you won't hear about them much in any favorable light. They'll do the same thing to those guys that they did to Charles Collins. You remember Charles? You met Charles at some of the preparedness expos, didn't you?
Oh yeah, Charles was a good American man, you know, and he had some good ideas for America, but of course, you know, he would never get it in good.
Now we've got something similar going on right here in Arizona on the border states. The Texas hired two generals, General Barry McCaffrey and one other one, to investigate what's happening. What's that?
Barry McCaffrey?
Yes.
He's an idiot, man.
Yeah, but he did say one. He did say one thing. He did say that we are in a state of war on the border.
Yeah, well, they could stop that immediately. It'll make a drug legalization overnight. But that's a solution they don't want to do.
Yeah, back in the 30s, they stole our #1 cash crop. Why is it you can grow hemp in China but you can't grow it in America? Because it would be good for Americans. So they made our most productive. It's like suddenly saying, hey, you know, we found out that people are using cotton to soak up that to filter that heroin, so we're making cotton illegal. That's what they did with hemp.
Of course they did. Look, a wise friend many years ago said that if something doesn't make sense, then somebody's making a buttload of money off of it. And in the last 10, 15 years, I've improved on it by saying, like, if something doesn't make sense, like war on drugs, there's some Jews making a buttload of money off of it. Who owns the liquor distilleries in this country and the world, basically?
Yeah,
Who owns most of the pharmaceuticals?
They did the same thing. They've done the same thing back in Prohibition. Rockefeller funded, and the Rockefeller family is listed in the Jewish who's who. They gave the Women's Temperance League a few $1 million and made our grandfathers farmers and ranchers. Back when 40% of Americans lived and worked on farms, they made them into criminals.
Yep. Yeah. To destroy America, you have to destroy the family farm. And to rebuild America is to put an emphasis on farming again, and that's like legalizing hemp so that the farmer can have a real cash crop for a change.
I agree with that 100%. And I actually wrote about that. My next book, Paul, I've got 3 books out, And I'd really appreciate it if you told people on your website about them, because Mystery Babylon has got the whole story of the Mossad. It's got the whole story of the Rothschilds in it. It's got the whole history of how they've tried to kill me 3 times in the last 10 years. But 40 years ago, I wrote a novel. I called it science fiction, about marijuana being legal here, about an administration taking over that abolished all laws against victimless crimes, no corpus delicti, no victim, no crime. I wrote about it 40 years ago. It's been sitting in a little box, gathering dust, for 40 years. I wrote the story in prison I had the only typewriter in a Texas penitentiary. I was there for marijuana. Back when it was, well, son, we can get you 7 years. The judge will give you 7 years, and if you don't take it, well, you could get life. Marijuana, if you had a joint in Texas in the 60s, it was a potential life sentence.
How ridiculous is that, man? How many thousands of tax dollars are spent? Criminals that are 60 to 75% of those in jail right now. They'll let go a murderer or to make room for a pothead. Makes sense?
That didn't make sense to me then. I wrote that book 40 years ago. It's now being typed. I had the only typewriter, and it is now being put into the computer, and I'm going back and I'm able to edit it now.
Right.
But what's pretty interesting about that is that I can't find many mistakes, and it really predicted what's happening now.
I'm sure.
It's pretty amazing.
The only drugs that are outlawed, brother, are the ones that I can grow in our garden or make decisions. All the other ones that require millions of dollars to capital conversion, well, those that are financed by the tribe get to make the drug. You and I, who can make enough for our own levity, our own libation, for free, we can't do it. So we have to spend that $20-$30 for that case of beer, or that $300 an ounce for that marijuana, or, $200 for that eight ball of cocaine. Look, there's laws in place. If you violate somebody's rights or damage their property, whether you're high or not, there's laws to take care of you, okay? So if you're going to victimize somebody because you're messed up, be it on pharmaceutical drugs or not, their society can already deal with it. I don't need you in jail because you might like a pound of chocolate and I don't. I don't need my grandmother's door knocked in because she's a chocolate hoarder.
And by the way, I read the other day what the markups are on pharmaceuticals, legal pharmaceuticals. By the way, more people die of legal pharmaceuticals.
Yeah, the contraindications, man.
Than all of the deaths from cocaine, methamphetamine, or heroin in the country.
But hey, one of the tribe's doctor prescribed it, and one of the tribe's pharmaceutical stores sold it to you. So everybody's getting a cut of your money, but instead of you being able to keep all your money and making something that is safe, okay, like growing marijuana, something that, when my Christian friends try to give me, crap about it, I go like, excuse me, let's start with Genesis, first book of the Bible, chapter 1, verse 29. He gave us every seed-bearing plant for our use. Did you see except hemp and marijuana in there? No. It said every. Okay?
That's
so
right.
Get your mind around that and stop, being a bigot because, hey, if it's not for you, it's not for you. But don't tell other people how to live their lives, man. Judge that man by his fruits. Okay?
Well,
you cannot judge his soul.
That's exactly what I wrote about 40 years ago. And, the medical marijuana is an advance because for the first time in 40 years, I might not be a criminal, if I go pay a doctor, to get a prescription for something I could grow in my backyard. I think that's ridiculous. And let me just give you an example of how they're ripping you off, folks. Anybody out there that's on Prozac? let's see, Prozac cost you, if you go to the drugstore and buy Prozac or get it through Medicare or whatever, it's $247.47 for 100 capsules. It cost them 11 cents to make that 100 capsules. That is a 224,973% markup.
Brother, again, you're just playing Jew math, man.
What's
it
that?
Doesn't make sense. Somebody's making a buttload of money off of it.
And they are putting people in hospitals, in these pharmaceuticals. They're doing this to, my guest on Monday will be Donna Taylor, and we've been fighting for 2 years to get her son released. They came through Arizona to see me, and she took him, he got sick, took him to an emergency room in Phoenix. When they found out who he was, first kid shot at Columbine, they put him in an institution, kept him locked up, and kept him drugged for almost a year. I helped her get him out. I helped her get him out. She took him back up to Colorado, and they put him back into a friggin' hospital again, back into and because well, he was having problems getting off of the drugs they had him on. So he's being drugged again.
Yeah, the drug Paxil.
Paxil.
You can't. Paxil is one of those that you can't just quit cold turkey. If you quit cold turkey, you might turn suicidal. You might turn into a lone gunman. You know.
Right.
You know, something natural like weed doesn't make you do that stuff. But then again, you know, they're not going to make money off of you, and that's a bigger crime than anything else. Why should we have to pay for something that we can do for ourselves?
Now, what's happening down here, I'm putting together an event. I wish you could be here for it. And it started out to be a bike run. The woman came to me and introduced me to the sheriff of Cochise County. This is one of these sheriffs that the federal government is suing. Our government is suing our sheriffs in Arizona and Texas and probably all around the country, but in Arizona particularly because we passed a law allowing our law enforcement to deport and to arrest illegals. Enforce federal law. We passed a law allowing our law enforcement officers to arrest and enforce federal law, and they're suing our sheriffs for that.
Yeah, brother, if it doesn't make sense, you know. Look, most of the illegals work for big corporations like Tyson and other big agricultural businesses. You know who owns those, man. You know, and they need a cheap labor force because they don't want to pay Americans a livable wage.
You know, I've talked with the ranchers and farmers here, and they're saying we can't get the help. We can't get the help that we need. You know, kind of remember the old song, how you gonna get them back on the farm after they've seen L.A.?
No, I don't know that one.
Yeah, it was popular probably before you were born.
It's all right, man.
But that's what's happening, you know. And I just saw an interesting video. I'm probably going to have to put this up on my site, comparing our schools to prisons. They're operating the schools just like they operate a prison now.
Well, the schools aren't there to be. You're not there to learn your 3 R's. You're there to learn the propaganda of the review of history, of the review of societies and socialism. But you're not there to learn about Americanism and how to be an independent human being.